Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. And today we are diving into one of the most devastating, gut-wrenching storylines that has ever been told in soap opera history. In this story, Sheila Carter, a woman whose entire life has been a storm of obsession, manipulation, and desperate longing, finally crosses a line that cannot be uncrossed. She walks into the Forrester mansion with cold, calculated purpose, confronts Steffy Forrester and pulls the trigger. And in the aftermath, a family is shattered, a son loses everything, and Sheila is left sitting in a prison cell with nothing but silence and the weight of what she has done. This is the story of how years of pain, resentment, and broken thinking led to the most tragic moment in the Forrester family's history. Let's go back to where this all truly began. Not the night of the shooting, but the weeks and months before it. When the tension was quietly building like pressure beneath the earth, Sheila Carter had been trying in her own deeply flawed and broken way to earn a place in her son Finn's life. She wanted love, she wanted acceptance, she wanted someone to look at her and see something worth keeping. And every single time she reached for that, Steffi Forrester was there, standing firm, standing strong, and refusing to let her in. I mean, can you blame Steffi? She had seen what Sheila was capable of. She knew the danger. Protecting her family wasn't just instinct, it was survival. But here is the thing about Sheila's mind. It didn't process rejection the way a healthy person would. Every time Finn turned away, every cold look, every moment he chose Steffi over her, Sheila didn't take that as a consequence of her own behavior. She reframed it, she rebuilt the story inside her head until Steffi became the villain. In Sheila's distorted reality, Steffi wasn't protecting her family. She was stealing it. She was poisoning Finn against her. She was the reason Sheila couldn't have the one thing she had ever truly wanted. And that kind of thinking, when left unchecked, when fed by isolation and pain, becomes terrifying. Poor Finn, was caught right in the middle of all of this. He was torn between the biological mother he never knew growing up and the women he had built his entire life with. He kept trying to manage the situation, keep the peace, hold both worlds together. He had no idea just how far gone Sheila already was. As the days passed, overheard conversation she misread, a memory of an old argument she couldn't let go of, small moments that her mind twisted into proof of persecution. She became convinced that Steffi was actively working to destroy her. And in that broken, desperate headspace, she arrived at a conclusion that should have been unthinkable. Steffi had to go. Now imagine the night of the tragedy, the Forrester mansion quiet under the glow of moonlight, holding decades of secrets within its walls. Steffi was alone inside, and apparently she had felt something off all day. A heaviness, a dread she couldn't shake. Maybe somewhere deep down she knew something was coming. Sheila had already made her move without her knowing. She entered with terrifying precision. Her heart was racing, but her mind, and this is the part that gets me, her mind was disturbingly clear. But this wasn't panic, this was purpose. When she walked into that living room and their eyes met, time seemed to stop. Steffi recognized it immediately, that look in Sheila's eyes, that lethal blend of desperation and dead certainty. She had seen it before and she knew what it meant. Steffi didn't freeze. She tried to talk her down. Her voice was steady but urgent. She appealed to whatever was left of Sheila's humanity. She said Finn's name because if anything could reach Sheila, it had to be him. But Sheila was beyond reaching at that point. She shook her head and said that this was all Steffi's fault. That Steffi had taken everything, that she had turned Finn against her and poisoned everyone around her. And Steffi, even in that moment of danger, tried to redirect her. She moved closer, trying to de-escalate, telling Sheila she could still walk away, that it wasn't too late. But Sheila had already decided it was. The confrontation spiraled with terrifying speed. Words became accusations, accusations became screaming. And then, in one devastating flash, a gunshot rang through the house, and then silence. Steffi fell, and Sheila stood there, staring at what she had done. As reality broke through the fog for just a moment, she looked at Steffi's lifeless body and whispered, almost in disbelief, "You made me do this." But deep down, she knew that wasn't true. I can't even begin to describe what that moment must have felt like. Imagine standing there in that silence with that truth closing in on you and still not being able to fully own it. That whisper, that blame shifting even in the most devastating moment, tells you everything about how far gone Sheila really was. Finn arrived first. He had gotten a call that something was wrong, and nothing could have prepared him for what he walked into. His world didn't just break, it collapsed. The grief hit him immediately, and then the fury followed him. Sharp and hot, Sheila didn't run. Maybe she thought even then that Finn would understand, that if she could just explain it, he would see her side. But when he looked at her, with all that pain and betrayal and rage pouring out of his eyes, she had to have known she had lost him forever. Finn's voice broke as he said, "You didn't just kill her, you ruined everything." The impact of Steffi's death stretched far beyond that one terrible night. The Forrester family fell into a grief so deep it became almost unrecognizable. Ridge and Taylor, who had already carried so much heartbreak throughout their lives, were now facing the unthinkable loss of their daughter. And their grief didn't stay soft. It hardened into a burning, relentless need for justice. Liam was consumed by guilt, replaying every moment and asking himself whether there was something he could have done differently, some warning he could have acted on sooner. And Finn became a hollow version of himself. He threw himself into work at the hospital, not out of passion, but out of pure desperation to escape the silence waiting for him at home. Saving patients felt like a cruel irony. He could save strangers, but he couldn't save her. Sleep brought nightmares, waking brought pain. There was no relief, no clean break in the grief, just an endless loop of loss. And Sheila, sitting in that prison cell, the walls closing in, the defiance slowly draining out of her, she began to remember, really remember, without her schemes, without her manipulations, without the constant spinning of a new plan, she was left alone with the truth. The justifications she had clung to started falling apart one by one. She began to see the fight clearly, painfully clearly. And that clarity was almost worse than the denial had been, because now she had to sit with the full weight of what she had done. She had destroyed the happiness of the person she claimed to love most in this world. She had taken Steffi from Finn. She had taken his children's mother. She had taken everything and left nothing but wreckage. But tragedy of Sheila Carter isn't just that she was evil. It's that she was broken and she never got the help she needed, and the people around her paid the price for that. That doesn't excuse a single thing she did, but it makes it all so much more heartbreaking to watch unfold. Sheila Carter has always been one of the most complex and compelling characters in daytime television. But this moment right here, this is where any lingering sympathy has to stop. There is no justification for that, what she did. There is no version of the story where she is the victim. She made her choices over and over again, and Steffi paid for them with her life. Finn paid for them with his heart, the Forrester family paid for them with their peace. And Sheila, sitting in that cell, is finally in the only place where she can no longer hurt anyone else. What makes it truly devastating is that she had chances, she had moments where she could have chosen differently. She didn't, and that is the most tragic thing of all. So there we have it, one of the most emotionally brutal turning points this story has ever seen. Sheila Carter crossed a line that can never be uncrossed, and the entire world of this show will never be the same because of it. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think there was ever a moment where Sheila could have been saved? Or was this always inevitable? Do you feel any sympathy for her at all? Or is that completely off the table now? Drop everything in the comments below. I read every single one. If this video moved you, hit that like button, and if you are new here, subscribe so you never miss a breakdown like this one. We will see you in the next one.